Hello, this is TVP World. I'm Diana Skaya, and welcome aboard the Eastern Express. This time around, we turn our attention to Romania, where the upcoming presidential election rerun is shaping up to be more than just a political contest. It's a defining moment for the nation's democratic trajectory and its place in the European landscape. Now, last December, Romania's presidential election was annulled by the Constitutional Court due to credible allegations of Russian interference favoring far-right candidate Călin Georgescu. And the court's decision to void the election underscores the severity of the threat to Romania's democratic processes. In response, Romania has scheduled a new election with the first round set for May 4 and a potential runoff on May 18. The rerun isn't just a do-over, it's a critical juncture for Romania to reaffirm its commitment to democratic principles and to resist external manipulation. So without further ado, let's take a look at our latest report to find out more.
With Romania's rerun presidential election scheduled for May 4th, polls indicate that nearly 40% of voters remain undecided. In the upcoming election, 4 candidates are currently polling strongly. George Simion, leader of the far-right AUR party, Bucharest Mayor Nicu Dan, former Prime Minister Victor Ponta, and Crin Antonescu, the pro-EU candidate. Simion, who has emerged as a favorite to reach the second round, has been involved in a media battle, limiting press access to local journalists at pre-election events. Ponta, meanwhile, is attempting to recover from a controversial incident involving his handling of a 2014 flood crisis, where his decision to reroute floodwater to protect Belgrade led to the submerging of several Romanian villages. Dan, who is concerned about misinformation spreading during the campaign, has criticized the electoral authority for its handling of AI-generated content and misrepresented statements. The rerun election follows a period of intense political turmoil triggered by the December decision to annul the first-round results just 2 days before the scheduled runoff. The political crisis was compounded by revelations from Romania's top security council, which declassified documents showing aggressive hybrid attacks, including a social media campaign promoting far-right candidate Călin Georgescu.
And now let's zoom in on the East planning portion of our show. Călin Georgescu, a far-right ultranationalist, has been at the center of Romania's political turmoil over the past months, following his surprising rise and subsequent disqualification from the country's presidential election. Now facing criminal probes for false campaign financing and promoting fascism, he remains a divisive figure as Romania heads towards a tense May 4 vote.
Last November, Georgescu, a 62-year-old former UN Sustainable Development expert, won the first round of Romania's presidential election with 23% of the vote, capitalizing on anti-EU and pro-Russia rhetoric. His campaign, amplified by a massive TikTok presence, raised alarms when intelligence reports alleged Russian interference through undisclosed funding and coordinated online promotion. The Constitutional Court annulled the election, citing electoral violations, plunging Romania into a political crisis. In March 2025, Georgescu was barred from running in the May election rerun by the Central Election Bureau, which ruled he had violated the fundamental obligation to defend democracy. The decision, upheld by Romania's top court, sparked violent protests in Bucharest, with supporters clashing with police and decrying the ban as undemocratic. Georgescu faced criminal investigations for charges including false campaign financing statements and promoting fascist groups. His disqualification left Romania's far right, which holds about a third of parliamentary seats, scrambling to find a replacement candidate. Some have sought to rally Georgescu's base, though he has not endorsed any successor. Now, as Romania approaches the May 4th election, Georgescu remains a polarizing figure. His supporters, waving Romanian flags and Orthodox icons, continue to protest, while the political establishment braces for a contentious vote.
And now let's take a look at the issue in greater detail. With Călin Georgescu out of the race, the far-right mantle has been picked up by George Simion, leader of the Alliance for the Union of Romanians, the AUR. Now, Simion, a hard-right nationalist, has surged in the polls, currently leading with approximately 33.4% of support. Now, he's pledged to prevent a potential withdrawal of U.S. troops from Romania, aligning himself with the MAGA movement and expressing admiration for the U.S. Republican Party. Now, Simeon's rise has caused concern in Brussels. His platform includes expanding Romania's historical borders, opposing further EU integration, and rejecting separate Holocaust education classes. Now, he's also critical of military aid to Ukraine and has been banned from entering Moldova and Ukraine. In response to this far-right surge, centrist and pro-European parties are scrambling to consolidate support. Now, the National Liberal Party, the PNL, has dropped its own candidate to back Nicu Șordan, the pro-EU mayor of Bucharest, in hopes of preventing a runoff between two anti-European candidates. Meanwhile, Elena Lasconi, a reformist candidate from the Save Romania Union, is fighting to stay in the race despite losing support from her own party. And to make matters more complicated, well, Donald Trump Jr. is scheduled to visit Romania right before the election. His previous criticism of the Romanian court's decision to annul the December election has raised eyebrows, with some viewing his visit as an endorsement of Simeon. So what does all this mean for Romania and its allies? The upcoming election is not just a domestic affair. It's a referendum on the country's direction towards European integration or nationalist isolation. The outcome could reshape Romania's role in NATO, its relationship with the EU, and its stance on regional security issues. And now, here to shed more light on the issue is Eusebiu Slavitescu, former Romanian diplomat. Eusebiu, thanks for being with us here on TVP World today.
Thank you for having me.
So let's go through this here now. So there are four candidates. Now, per the polls, which, by the way, failed to predict Georgescu's surprise rise last year and who appeared to have a legitimate shot at reaching the critical second round on May 18. Now, we have Simeon, the governing party's candidate, Crin Antonescu, the centrist independent Nicu Șordan, and the leftist nationalist Victor Ponta. Now, Eusebiu, I want to ask you this. Give us, please, a little bit of a runoff scenario of what could actually happen between the four men. What could we be looking at?
So, as you rightly point out, polls in Romania are not to be fully trusted. I would take them with a lot of concern. Nothing is really played out. We still have weeks of political campaign. As things stand right now, it is obvious for everybody that George Simeon, the leader of our political party, far-right political party, is somehow riding the patriotic frenzy sort of wave of Mr. Georgescu, and he has done everything to have those votes. And if we are to consider the polls, again, the polls in Romania, not reliable. A lot of them are bought and paid by political parties to bring about some sort of narrative within the society. So take them with a bit of a salt. But if we are to take them, George Simeon, I think it's clear for everybody, and this is not a matter of polls, that he is the front runner at this moment. One of the reasons why he's also leading in the polls, he has been among the very few politicians in Romania which in the last 4 years has gone to every single corner of the country, literally knocking on the doors and talking to Romanians. Grassroots politics, and he's been the only one doing it. Sometimes he's insulted, sometimes he's appreciated, but he's there, he's on the ground, he's knocking doors. So this does not come as a surprise for me. As for the second place, this is really some sort of a tragic comedy, because most of the polls are giving different numbers. Some recent polls has given Crin Antonescu the government's candidate, which to me is a bit unexpected, because he's not. I mean, he's been an old politician. He's been sidelined for 10 years. Nobody actually knew what he's done in the past 10 years, and now he sort of was brought back in the center of the attention. I don't think he has the capacity to bring about a real vibration within the society. Also, for Victor Ponta, who was a socialist, now turned patriot, or sovereign. He's the kind of politician who would turn pretty much everything it's on the market at that particular point. By some polls, he's given the second position. I really doubt those polls. I think he's far out from the third position. My guess is Nicu Jordan, the independent mayor of Bucharest, will be the one going into the runoff. Again, we still have weeks of political campaign. There are still things that can happen. A lot of scandals are right now in the political in the Romanian media.
Let me interrupt you right there, Eusebi. Let me interrupt you right there. You just said that political scandals. Which runoff scenario do you think would actually pose the biggest challenge to Romania's democratic stability? I mean, there you just said the word. I mean, scandals.
Yeah. So that would be very bad for Romania and bad for the region to have George Simion as the president of Romania. George Simion, let's not forget, he has fully, transparently, and publicly supported all of Mr. Georgescu's ideas. And some of those ideas, they were really crazy, like private property, no more, NATO, European Union, no more, the political pluralism within the society, no more. Those were ideas brought up by Mr. Georgescu, and George Simion has fully backed him, although he present himself as sort of a softer stance in this, far right pillar. So it remains to be seen, but that would be a very bad signal for Romania, for NATO, and especially for the European Union, and especially in these very challenging times that we are witnessing.
Can you confirm that actually Simion's platform can be described as anti-Ukrainian? And if so, what campaign promises are actually reflecting that?
Oh, he's very anti-Ukrainian. By the way, Mr. George Simion cannot enter the territory of Moldova and the territory of Ukraine. For Moldova, the intelligence community in Moldova has found out about some visits of him in Chisinau with some FSB officers. None of them has been, however, really confirmed. What we do know is that he cannot enter Ukraine or Moldova if he's president. He's forbidden for 5 or 10 years, something like that. So that would be very bad for a Romanian president to not be able to go in Moldova, especially within the very privileged and strategic relations that we have with Moldova. Mm-hmm. Also, he has spoken against helping Ukraine. He has spoken against helping Ukraine with the grains, with the corridor from Odessa through the Romanian waters. He has spoken against all military and financial aid to Ukraine. Also, I think it was 2 days ago, he said live on TV, if Russia attacks Moldova, Romania has no business in there, which is shocking because Moldovas, we consider them our brothers and sisters. They are Romanians after all, not because Stalin chose to create an artificial state that they are no longer Romanians. They speak Romanian, they are Romanians. So the historical fact made it so. But, so these kind of messages really don't go very well. So yeah, for the region and for our future, George Simiescu would be really a terrible idea. As for the other three, regardless of which one of them gets in the second in the runoff, honestly, their position are pretty okay. Pro EU, pro NATO. Not so much pro-Ukraine, except for Mr. Nicu Jordan, who is fully pro-Ukraine and supports Ukraine in each sense. That should be fine. But again, like Victor Ponta, who's taken this, clothing of patriot and sovereign, this is all, sort of a chameleon type of politics, changing as the market goes about.
What about public sentiment on Ukraine and on the war in Ukraine and how that's going for a moment if we shift away from these politicians?
So our support for Ukraine comes first through our historical view of Russia. just like Poland, but maybe a bit less because historically Poland has been really tragic what Russia has done. But Romania, we don't really like very much Vladimir Putin, and throughout our history we had a lot of issues with Russia. Also, Moldova. It was created as an artificial state to be used as a weapon of destabilization and chaos within the region, and we have seen that done by the Russians in Moldova. So it's really curious to see where all of this is going, to be honest.
I want to ask you about the annulment of the first election due to concerns of Russian interference. I mean, you're mentioning Russia, FSB quite a lot here now. So the Constitutional Court's decision to cancel last December's vote was unprecedented. How much has the Russian meddling and hybrid warfare actually damaged Romania's democratic process, electoral credibility, and let me ask you this, how is it looking like this time around? I mean, has Romania been has taken specific steps to try and avoid a similar situation from taking place again?
I'm hoping some measure were taken not to repeat it. By the way, just to add a comment, 2 weeks ago, the TikTok company, very company, has said 27,000 accounts were pushed and used by foreign actors to influence and interfere within the Romanian elections in November. So that this is no longer a question of did it happen? Were the Russians? It happened. We now have confirmation. This is not the only thing. There's a lot more proofs to that. So let's put that aside. That happened also with the election. It wasn't just Russia. It's easy to put all the blame on Russia. It was not. It was a cocktail, sort of a toxic cocktail of a lot of grievances. Also, what happened was none of the traditional political parties had a candidate who went into the runoff in November. See, this also means a complete failure of the traditional political parties. And this is not just in Romania. We need to see this within the full context in Europe, in the region, and in the world. So Romania makes no exception about that. As for the democratic process, it was very bad to nuke a presidential election. It's by no means a good thing to do. Public trust in public institutions in Romania is already traditionally low. I don't even want to think right now where this stands. However, we will have to see how this moves on. For the moment, the whole frenzy that we had for months, it looks like it dissipated a little bit, and things are starting to go back to normal to some extent. But again, we are weeks away from the presidential elections. A lot can happen.
And we will definitely see how all that will unfold. Thank you so much, Eusebius Levitescu, for being with us here today on Eastern Express. And we move on now to the Eastern News Flash, a series of all the other stories from the East that you don't want to miss. Denmark plans to send unarmed soldiers to Ukraine for specialized training courses to learn from Ukrainian combat experience. Now, Russia strongly objected the move, declaring that they will be considered as legitimate targets for Russian armed forces.
Denmark's military will send soldiers to Ukraine to gain first-hand combat experience, a decision that has drawn sharp criticism from Russia. While the soldiers will not be participating in active combat, Russia has warned that the move could escalate the conflict, calling the soldiers legitimate targets. The Danish soldiers are expected to attend training sessions focusing on combat tactics like the use of attack drones, which have been highly effective for Ukraine. The training, set to begin in summer of 2025, will be conducted at facilities far from combat zones in western Ukraine, with Danish officials citing Ukraine's advanced warning systems and shelters for safety.
Russian courts convicted a record number of citizens for treason in 2024 as the Kremlin intensified its crackdown on perceived internal threats. Now, according to the investigative outlet iStories, the number of treason convictions last year was nearly 4 times higher than in 2023.
Russia continues its fight against internal dissent. In 2024, 145 Russian citizens were convicted of treason, nearly 4 times more than in 2023, marking the highest number in modern Russian history. Espionage convictions also surged, with 23 individuals found guilty. Under laws related to state secrets, at least 209 individuals were convicted in 2024, a one-third increase from the previous year. The Kremlin's aggressive stance against internal dissent was further underscored when President Vladimir Putin called on the Federal Security Service to intensify its efforts to root out traitors and foreign operatives within Russia.
Meanwhile, Serbia has granted citizenship to dozens of Russians with links to the Kremlin. Some voices suggest the mass passport issuance could be part of a covert Moscow-Belgrade arrangement in which Russia provides financial support to Serbian authorities.
Between early 2022 and April 2025, 204 Russians, including executives from sanctioned defense firms and intelligence services, were naturalized as Serbian citizens. Among those granted Serbian passports are 11 current and former executives of Russian defense companies. Some recipients have close ties to key figures in Russia, including FSB officers, Chechen leader Ramzan Kadyrov, and individuals linked to President Vladimir Putin's inner circle. Despite their high-profile affiliations, none of the new citizens are on Western sanctions list. The mass issuance of passports has raised concerns that it could be part of a covert arrangement between Moscow and Belgrade, with Russia providing financial support to Serbia in exchange for favorable actions.
And that's all for this episode of Eastern Express. Thanks for watching, and stay with us here on TVP World.